Now this hunt was filmed a few years ago, and you'll probably notice that I'm sporting a much longer hairstyle, and my BSA Super 10 hadn't yet been cut down in length or blueprinted by John Bowkett, which would have proved quite handy in this situation, but you'll see more of that later. Now you've seen me shoot over this farm quite a few times before, and back then this was quite a new permission to me, and the farmer had asked me to come down and try and discourage the amount of crows and that were feeding on the meal stored away to help feed the cattle. Now meal costs money, a lot of money, and the farmer doesn't get anything for fattening crows, so I thought I would go down, set up the little bush chair hide and see if I could get a few. Now there isn't as many birds on the farm now as there was back then, so my efforts over the years must have been bearing fruit, and even the farmer lately told me that I've done myself out of a job. Plus the meal is now stored in silos, so the birds can't get at it anymore. But he's happy, and that's how you get recommended to other farmers and get other permissions. Now it's taken me 4 or 5 minutes to get the camera and all set up and start recording, and within that time the birds have really started to come into the shed. You can see the amount of rooks, jackdaws, magpies, collared doves, there's a few feral pigeons, even a wood pigeon, and 2 or 3 pheasants knocking about. And the birds just seem to keep coming in. Now, I've just managed to get the camera up and recording. I haven't got the rifle up and ready to fire yet, or even load it. So that's why you're seeing a lot of footage of birds flying about and not much shooting. But it shows you how many birds can be about here. So with the camera rolling, I get my face veil on and lift my shooting sticks, ready to manoeuvre the rifle into position. The thing is with these hides, they're quite small, and unless you have a rifle with a very short barrel, it can be a wee bit awkward getting it manoeuvred into position. And as soon as I push the barrel of the rifle out through the netting in the hide, the birds see the movement and they're off. The problem I'm presented with now is that all the birds feeding are constantly on the move. They're always taking a wee hop or a step, and their heads are always moving, pecking away at the meal, making it impossible for a headshot. So I decided to go for a heart and lung shot at the young rook in the middle of the picture when he pauses chest on to me. The shot sounded good, but the bird still managed to fly out the door before dropping. Before long, these 2 magpies arrive, and I'm presented with the same problem again. Both birds are constantly on the move. Their heads are constantly pecking. So I decided to go for another heart and lung shot at the bird in the top of the pile. Again, the shot sounded good, but the bird flew out the door before dropping. But I was able to find both of them as the birds were hovering around above them, marking the spot. So if you ever lose a bird like that, keep an eye on how the rest of the birds react, and it may give you an idea where it's lying. After another 10-15 minutes, another couple of birds come in. This time I get the shot I'm looking for, a nice still target, and I line the crosshairs up on the bird's head. And I seem to get a good contact, and the bird goes down. But when I go over to pick it up, it's still semi-conscious. The shot had hit it in the head but hadn't gone through the brain, and it needed finishing off. Not a nice thing, but something that has to be done. So I decided to take a few practice shots at one of the concrete slabs to check the rifle zero, and sure enough it was shooting almost half an inch to the right hand side. So I gave it a few clicks back to correct it and took a shot or two till I was sure the rifle was zeroed. Something I should have done when I was at home, but it could have been the reason why the first 3 shots weren't 100%. But before long I get another opportunity at a magpie on the same perch as the last one. And when he gives me a nice head up shot, I drop him, this time as clean as a whistle. So again I dandered out and picked up the bird I've just shot, so it doesn't put off the rest of the birds coming in, and I scooped any blood sitting on top of the male out the door. Before long the birds start to get their confidence back. The jackdaws weren't quite settling yet, but I was concentrating on this magpie. He wasn't going to make it easy for me though. But finally I got the crosshairs settled on him and knocked him clean off the top of that container. This time I left him where he was sitting, as he wasn't in full view of the other birds, or so I thought. As this bird came in from the other end of the shed, I could obviously see the bird lying on the ground behind it, but it didn't give me enough a chance to get a shot off. After a while another magpie came in, and this time presented a good shot. And down he went. So while the farmer came round to pick up a piece of machinery, I took the opportunity to lift the two birds I've just shot, and the first two birds I shot earlier in the day from the field beside me. The rook seemed right and well hit, square on in the chest, and even the magpie just in the corner of the shoulder, but both birds seemed to be able to get enough adrenaline to fly about 50-60 yards before dropping dead into the field beside me. So after the disturbance had settled down, the birds started showing interest again and coming into the shed. But the jackdaws seemed to do this trick where they fly in the door, circle round and fly back out again. And then they'll sit up on the roof as if to egg each other on who's going to be the first to go into the shed. Maybe a set of decoys here would have helped the situation. I don't know, it might be something to try another day. But after a while the birds did settle down in the top corner, about 35 yards away, and I lined this jackdaw's head up in the crosshairs. But as you can hear by the thump, I totally missed the bird and struck the concrete behind it. Oh well, you can't get them all. Another magpie wandered into the picture. And just as I was going to take the shot, the farmer started up an angle grinder in the workshop beside me, scaring him off. Now the collared doves, there's plenty of them about this farm, but they're totally protected in Northern Ireland, so I leave them well alone. The jackdaws on the other hand, well, they're open season. And I line the crosshairs up on the bird on the left and drop him off the top of the pile. I didn't go out to lift the bird, you can see it lying there where it rolled off the pile, but it didn't seem to put these two magpies off. Even the collared doves had come back again to feed. They make quite a good live decoy, the collared doves. But before I get a shot at the magpies, the farmer decides to lift a heavier hammer. So again I take advantage of the disturbance and go out and lift the jackdaw I'd shot. The yard's quite noisy today. There's a workshop beside me and the farmer's doing a wee bit of metal work, and they have a radio playing, so you'll probably not see any advertisements on this on YouTube. But again, it's not too long to get another opportunity at a magpie. but he flies out of sight just before I get the shot off, to be quite quickly and handily replaced by this jackdaw, which I drop fairly cleanly with another headshot. Again, I make use of the disturbance and go out and lift the bird I've just shot, keep the place nice and tidy. The rest of the birds are sitting up in a tree on the other side of the yard. They're also going down and feeding among the dairy cattle where they're fed silage. The farm cat makes an appearance and I decide to have a discussion with him. But he's just not in a talkable mood. He doesn't seem at all interested in any of them doves in the background. But after a while the birds start coming back again. Always seems to be the magpies that settle first. I was lining up in this one as he was poking a hole in the bag of meal there. But when he hopped up to the top, he just got a little too close for my liking to that container. So I switched to one of the jackdaws, or a young rook maybe it was, in the background there. But he just sidestepped as soon as I squeezed the trigger and I totally missed him. After a while the birds get a good bit of confidence again and they start piling in on top of the meal. It really makes it awkward trying to get an accurate shot off. I tried to pick a bird out that was sitting still, but it's very difficult. But the birds flutter with a wee bit of background noise here, and one of the rooks steadied itself. I squeezed the shot off at its head and totally missed it. There definitely is something to say in safety in numbers. Before long the birds start to get confident enough to come back again, but only a small number this time. And keeping me hold on the top bird there, another young rook. Waiting for that opportunity. And when he pauses with his head up and still, I slip the trigger and take him down. Well, it's been a fairly long day and it's been fairly hot and muggy to be sitting in a hide, so I decided to call it quits. Well, it's been a decent bag for, 3 hours or more. Quite a mixed bag too, but hopefully the farmer will be a lot happier now.